Okay, apologies everybody, I seem to get cut off there for some reason. I probably pressed something I shouldn't have done. So our gloom pleased, I'm just going to zoom in on that. Sort of the idea, it's quite oxymoronic. So basically the eyes are gloom pleased. In other words, he's been awake for a full day and as such that reality has left him full of gloom. Embowered from the light and shaded in forgetfulness divine. I really like these verbs here, embowered and shaded. They all have connotations of trees. I've written it down here. Embowered and shaded, which basically seeking solace again in the natural world. Both of these words mean to basically be protected, to be closed in by. So protected from the trees, from the light. So here we have to look at the contrast between dark and light. Light is seen as an invasive force that he's trying to escape. Forgetfulness divine, I think, is beautiful, but this is an idea of a state of complete numbness. If you have no memory, you have no suffering, and that's what he's looking for, forgetfulness divine. Remember, we have seen this before in Keats' poetry, when he desires, oh, sorry, 1 second. Okay, sorry about that. So where did we get to? Forgetfulness divine, so the idea of a state of complete numbness with no memory, so therefore no suffering. And remember, he was dreaming of the river Leth as well, in terms of forgetting things in later poems. Oh, soothe asleep, if it's so it please thee close. Here we have that sibilance, which evokes a kind of lulling tone. Oh, soothe asleep, and the exclamative language as well there. So this is very much in keeping with the kind of lyrical voice, the apostrophe. If it so please thee as well. You see this kind of return to decorum. Close, and that's obviously in reference to his eyes. In midst of this thine hymn. So here we have like lots of religious connotations coming up. My willing eyes. So there's a sense of sort of a pleading tone here. The lyrical voice is passive and it's pleading with sleep to basically take him. Or wait the amen, and again the continuation of the religious imagery here. Amen being the point of closure in a prayer typically. Ere thy poppy throws, and of course he's dwelled on the poppy before, hasn't he, in terms of like the hallucinogenic properties, the sleep inducing properties. But that image of the amen, ere thy poppy throws, the idea of like carefree, basically just throwing them around the place. Around my bed, it's lulling charities. So at this point we can sort of start seeing the movement of death as something soothing, as something that he is tranquil, that will help him recuperate, to something basically almost like a metaphor for death, really, a metaphor for ceasing to be. And then we move into the third stanza. Then save me, or the past day will shine. Look at these the two consequences here. Then save me. So sleep is literally saving him at this point. Save me, or the past day will shine. So in other words, the events of the day, the traumatic events of his day will shine. And I want us to think about that, the shine. In other words, that's another example of light being a barrier to sleep. Light being invasive and stopping him from sleeping. Will shine upon my pillow. Pillow being a place of rest, a place of comfort, but here he has the light shining on him. So if sleep doesn't save him, this is the consequence. Breeding many woes. So as a result of him not being able to sleep, he's consumed by his worries and his concerns and his grief, basically, and they will multiply in his mind. Save me from curious conscience that still lords. So there's two consequences. The first one is that he wants to be saved from the stress, just dwelling on the stresses and the kind of troubles of his day, the day that has just passed. And then on a larger level, he wants to be saved from curious conscience. He says, save me from curious conscience. He is unable to escape the natural tendency to question everything. And of course, this will become more profound after his brother's death. Curious conscience. And a lot of critics take that to mean the curious consciousness. The idea that we just, as humans, we can't help but question the nature of life and the nature of existence. The use of the word lords here, I feel, really points towards a power imbalance. It's lording it over him. So his lack of rest means that this questioning power within him lords it over him. It's strength for darkness. So burrowing like a mole. It's strength for darkness, burrowing like a mole. So I feel like that here he's sort of when he says it's, he's personifying that questioning part of his brain. He's saying the strength for darkness, in that it's able to withstand his exhaustion, his sleepiness, and keep him awake. In other words, it's strength for darkness. Burrowing like a mole. I think that simile is really important there. Moles are invasive. They are they can take over areas and places. So invasive, overpowering. And then we have those final 3 lines that are really important. Sorry, final 2 lines. Turn the key deftly in the oiled wards and seal the hushed casket of my soul. So then we see it kind of coming to this, kind of bringing this final sleep. And we have, it's interesting that the first line starts off with "O soft embalmer," and we mentioned that that has connotations of death, embalming, but also it has connotations of being protected, being soothed. And then move to the final line where he's talking about seal the hushed casket of my soul. Casket has undeniable connotations of death. Obviously, casket is where what you're buried in, basically. Seal the hushed casket of my soul. I feel like there's a sense of finality in these lines. Turn the key deftly in the oiled wards. Oiled wards would tell me that this is basically something commonplace. Turn the key, basically, let me into this place. Let me into this place right now, and seal the hushed casket of my soul. Hushed casket as well. It sounds like he's not fighting it. He's actually in a sense of tranquil acceptance of his fate. Hushed casket of my soul. So we feel like the soul is something that's suffering at the minute, and he's asking sleep to bring him that final peace. Yeah, so basically I will upload some more annotations as well. But this particular poem, I think, is really, really important in terms of the lyrical voice, the passivity of the lyrical voice, pleading with the personified sleep to bring him a sense of peace that John Keats could never find in the world he existed in. And sleep obviously is traditionally considered a time of rest, a time of peace, but actually the more Keats looks into it, the more we see that it's actually not only a great healer for him, but it could just be a way of just ceasing to be for him as well. So I will upload my annotations as well. And as I said, we will have time after the Easter break to go over the last 2 poems in a little bit more detail, but hopefully this is enough to give you a little bit of a start. Okay, thank you everybody. Goodbye.